I mentioned this in my previous video, that I was going to make a rant. My second rant. Well, really my third rant, because you can consider the rankism rant, the rankism vlog a rant. You could. So, really my third rant. And so, what did I want to highlight? Well, I want to highlight why I think Hypixel is better than Mineplex. Let's start with one that you can easily knock out of the park. Player counts. And how they mean absolutely nothing. So the Hypixel player count, as far as I know, is natural. It's legitimate for how many players are on the server. The Mineplex one, there's bots. That tells you all you need to know. Ever notice how Mineplex is always one spot below filling? Bots. Bots. Now let's talk about the next issue. Lag. Now both of them have their subsequent titles with lag in front of it, whether it be Lagpixel or Lagplex. But I find myself to be lagging a lot more on Mineplex than I do on Hypixel. And it's not because of the intensity of the games. I think the Hypixel games are much more resource intensive. Think about Turbo Kart Racers, Cops and Crims, all the games that use a custom resource pack. You don't see those lagging. Yet on Mineplex, you see games like Castle Siege and Valentine's Vendetta lagging. And it doesn't make sense. You could say, oh, but Doug, Castle Siege is because it has like maybe 100 players on it. And Valentine's Vendetta, oh, well that. Well, yeah, Castle Siege, you make a fair point, but Valentine's Vendetta is not resource heavy. If you say that's resource heavy, you have no idea what resource heavy means. Meanwhile, back to the point of this video, let's talk about another key thing that I really prefer Hypixel over Mineplex for. Speaking of the lag. In Mineplex, you can legitimately get lag in the lobbies. Unless there's serious server issues, which Hypixel will notify you of, there's not really lag. Now let's talk about another thing. And this is somewhere where Hypixel upgraded recently. Anti-cheat. Mineplex's anti-cheat is horrible. The downright worst. You could see someone fly hacking in a game, and nothing would happen to the player. They may get kicked, but that's about it. On Hypixel, there is recently the new thing of Watchdog, where it kind of notes what hacks are, tries to detect players, and subsequently gives them the adequate punishment, which is a downright improvement of the Hypixel anti-cheat, of the Mineplex anti-cheat, if I've ever seen one. And let's also talk about the staff in terms of reporting. As far as I know, the Hypixel staff is very well on it in terms of reporting. I personally have never had the need to report anybody, which will come into the community factor later. Meanwhile, on Mineplex, let me tell you some stuff about Mineplex in terms of reports. 1. They only accept evidence from 2 weeks ago or earlier. Now, that seems all fine and dandy, but you realize that's a huge problem. Especially if one factor. They don't check reports. For example, I submitted a report for some dude who I thought was hacking in a game of Bacon Ball. And so I sent the report in, and I had heard of the 2-week rule. 2 weeks later, not a single reply on the thread, not even a single view. Eventually, a couple of days later, I get a reply saying that the video evidence that I provided was not substantial enough for a punishment. Wow. You could chalk it up to lag, but wow. That just baffles my mind. And let's also talk about, and there's also the whole thing of the corruption in the staff. I know about a year ago or whatever, There was like some story that came out about. I think I remember the Google Docs document. I'll probably put it in the description below. I don't remember the exact specifics of it. But yeah, I'll probably put it in the description below of what that was. I just remember it being something corrupt in terms of the staff and like dev training at the time. So, and the next thing I want to talk about is the community. The Mineplex community is salty as shit in mostly every game. You're basically told to die and a bunch of other things that are not fun. On Hypixel, do you see that stuff? Yeah, but more or less in the bigger games like Sky Wars or Mega Walls, maybe. And that's a maybe. You rarely see that kind of stuff. And just some of the smaller games on the Hypixel server, like for example Quakecraft, have phenomenal communities where everybody respects each other. There's a lot of people asking questions, people answer each other's questions, and there's just generally fun times to be had, fun things to be shared, and trying to just be, well, good. Trying to get better at what you do, and all that stuff. And let me talk now about another thing. The staff teams and how they respond to incidents. This may have been kind of mentioned in the report, but I follow most of the Hypixel dev team, admins and all, on Twitter. Now, I mainly do it for sheer entertainment, because some of those guys are downright hilarious. And I follow both Hypixel and Mineplex on Twitter. I follow both of them on Twitter. But, I gotta say Hypixel's a lot more consistent with updating stuff. Specifically on their website. If there's an update for a game coming out, where there's usually an update for a game or a new game, at least once a month or once every 2 months. That's pretty good for a server, especially a larger server network. And they're quality games. They're not the Valentine's Vendetta shit. No, they're quality games. Like the quality update to Cops and Crims that happened recently. Hypixel Says, which is a great game. Good stuff. And if there's a problem with the servers, you will see on the website, like an admin, like NoxCD, just post a post, just saying, hey, we're experiencing some difficulties with the server. We're gonna let you know updates as soon as they come. Thanks. And that's an update I appreciate, because I'd much rather know what's happening to the server than not. On Hypixel, you get those kind of updates. On Mineplex, no. Even during the whole thing when all the servers were being shut down, I don't even think Mineplex reported a single thing. They maybe put one thing, and that was it. Well, Hypixel kept you updated throughout almost the whole saga. It's just something that I personally like more. I'd rather be more involved in a better community than a salty community over on my 10-year-olds. I'm not saying everybody on Mineplex is 10 years old. I'm just saying they act like it sometimes. And then there's some other factors that hit more me close to home. And this may be if you know an admin anywhere. I've had a couple friends in the past where people have accused them, mostly falsely, of hacking. And they just have the whole thing of that we know one of the mods on Mineplex on Skype. And they're like a good friend of ours, whatever. And literally, they would just be like, it's okay, we know a mod, we're not gonna get banned. And sometimes some of these people use it for good purposes, but sometimes just, no. That's not how a mod team should work. They shouldn't be exploited by people who are being accused of stuff and help them out just because they're their friends. That's not how it should work. And generally, I just want to say this in conclusion. You may never see a Mineplex minigame on this channel ever again. And that is a decision I'm making for the purpose that I just like Hypixel more. I prefer them in everything they do. Whether it be from how they treat the community to just general server stuff. And if you have a different opinion, you can put it in the comments. Absolutely. I would love to see your opinion. I'm not calling anybody wrong or incorrect for supporting the other server. I'm just stating my opinion. And I hope that with my opinion, you can see anybody else's opinion. Does that mean I won't be on Mineplex? No, absolutely. I'll still go on. I have friends who can only get on Mineplex due to being banned from Hypixel. I'm looking squarely at you, Dog K59. But besides that point, I hope this video, you found some interest in it, found something you liked, and if you disagreed with me, don't be a bitch about it. Don't bitch about it in the comments. Maybe make some fair point. Just please don't start a war. That's the last thing I want to be a part of, is a YouTube comments war. And I may be setting myself up for it, but I'm just hoping us as a community, we can do some good. I hope you all enjoyed. This has been Doug Ramson, signing off.